Hello, ladies, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Military podcast. I am so excited that you're here today with us. And if you're tuning in from your car, you would want to go check us out on YouTube. You do not want to miss my beautiful guest that I have today. But also, if you are tuning in and you're seeing us, you can see that we have two amazing guests here. And as promised from this week's episode on Wednesday, we did announce that there will be a virtual event that will be happening, and so if you haven't tuned in, go back and check that out. That's episode 191. And what we want to highlight and showcase today are two amazing military women, which, by the way, you all, happy Veterans Day. Thank you again for supporting us and tuning into this podcast. I would love for you to meet the core girls that will be a part of the Swan Gala in summer of 2024, and also a part of the virtual event that we'll be hosting in December. So stay tuned for all those details. Again, everything will be in the show notes. All you have to do is scroll below and go to the link, or you can also go to wendyray.com/192. All right, ladies, thank you so much for being here. And what I would like for you to introduce yourself, say hello to the audience, and really understanding that these women here are here to feel inspired, but also empowered. So, with that, Rosa, I'm going to start with you. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Rosa Maria, and I am currently a captain in the field artillery. I invest in real estate, and I also own a business. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm really excited. I've talked to Wendy quite a bit about being here, and I'm excited to have such an amazing counterpart here as well. She's awesome, so I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Wendy.
Awesome. Yes. Hi, everyone. We're definitely excited to be here. Wendy, thank you again for having us. I'm Michelle Poe, and I got out of the military as a first lieutenant. I was in the Army. Now I am a mom, wife, coach, and a financial business owner. And I'm just super excited to do everything that I can and give any kind of advice and pour into as many people as possible. So thank you guys for listening.
I love that. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Rosa. I just love that one, Rosa, you're still in the military, you're a field artillery officer, and you are not only an investor in real estate, but you also have your own business. So that I absolutely love. Not to say that the more you do, the better, but honestly, I think that it's so empowering to see women that are in the military now. You know, it's no joke, as you remember, Michelle, being in the military, working those long hours, and still making time not only for you but also for your future, right? For what could be in the future for you financially, or even just emotionally, because that's honestly why we do all of this, right? We all want to feel good, be happier, feel happier, and then just have that freedom, and that's what this podcast is all about. And so, Michelle, and like you mentioned, you are wearing so many hats. You transitioned, as before. We've had guests here that are either been out of the military for a couple of years or are very close to getting out, and they've had a business already, and they're just like worry free of what the future may hold. And so I'm just really appreciative, Rosa, that you're here with us, sharing that you're still active duty and you can still plan, or have a business even while you're in, right? Like you can still do things even beyond the military. And so, again, for all of you listening, I really encourage you to take a moment and just, soak in everything that they are going to share, because here's what I've learned. And not only with the guests that I've interviewed, but also the clients that I've had, the coaching that I do with not only women that are really driven and motivated to doing things outside of the military, but there's always, a set or a number of thoughts, things, mindset wise, that we have to consistently commit to in order to keep going. And so it's been, a common theme for me to not only learn from women like yourselves, Rose and Michelle, because it's hard. It really is challenging. And so, with all of that being said, Rosa, can you share with us, maybe one of the, most challenging moments that you've had, not only as a woman in the field artillery, but also maybe something with your business, anything that you think that these women could really learn and gain from.
Yeah, Wendy, thank you for the opportunity to talk about this. Actually, I can remember one of the most impactful moments I had. I was sitting outside. I had just gotten to Fort Polk and things were going as south as they could go. And I was sitting outside and I realized I didn't have a sense of purpose. And when I tell you I was crying, I mean, I was bawling my eyes out for no reason. And I realized it was because I didn't have that. I don't know what it was. It wasn't enough for me. I wanted something else. The impact that I wanted to have in the world was not just limited to my military experience. So I think what helped me get out of that, to make this quick, was radical action. I didn't know what to do. I had no idea. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have interests outside of the military. I mean, I went to West Point, then I went to the military. Like this was my whole existence. So I just started trying a bunch of things and going all in on them. And if they failed and move forward. But that's how you find out what you enjoy and what you don't. So what I'm trying to say is here, I guess, is don't be afraid to start taking action, to not like it and to try something else, because ultimately you don't know unless you try it. So don't judge yourself. It's not a big deal. Like it's just a natural part of life. I think that would be the thing that really catalyzed my growth, Wendy.
Yeah. No, and Rosa, you said something very interesting. Don't judge yourself. And that's something that we do all day, every day. We're either judging ourselves or we're comparing ourselves to someone, something. And, as for you, was that something that you think you did constantly and maybe that was, holding you back or slowing you down?
So, Wendy, for me personally, I would I did a lot of research around this, and what they say is that what they have found is that women typically don't tend to take action unless they have all the answers, whereas men are more likely to take action without the answers, and therefore. When you talk about like getting further ahead or different type of things, of course, there's a lot of other factors that go into this. This isn't the only thing, but this is an aspect of it. And that's the aspect that I focused on. I said, okay, well, if this is what's going to catalyze me moving forward, then okay, that's what I do. And I didn't, when I thought of it in those terms, as opposed to, hey, you messed up, I became a lot more kind to myself, which is, I think, the verbiage that women use with this, like, don't judge yourself, don't this, don't that, is a lot different than the verbiage that
Mhm.
men use to describe the same thing. And when they talk about it, it sounds like it's coming from a place of power, but it's all the same conversation that we're having. So if we can
Yeah.
just adapt that, at least for me, that was super helpful.
Yeah. No, I love that you brought that up because it's true, right? 99% of the time, we're like, okay, we want to make sure that it's, the plan is there and we know all the steps. And you want to make sure that all the obstacles that we think are going to be there are definitely doable. If not, we're not going to do it. But then life happens, right? And so, like you said, you sitting
Yeah, girl,
down
it's
and
just
really
not
asking
life.
yourself, yeah, exactly. It's not. And I think that most of us hide it, right? We're like, oh my gosh, Wendy doesn't seem like she's that way. So, there must be something wrong with me, right? And then you go into this like whole spiral and, you try to like maybe keep working even more, within your job instead of focusing on really what the underground or the actual root of the problem may be, right? And like for you, I think that you did a great job at like really thinking outside of just what you had going in the military. For me, I did the complete opposite. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to face this. I want to run away from it. I'm going to work myself, to the ground because it helps me not think about my life outside of the military. And so, I applaud you for doing that, and for any of you that are, maybe on the fence of, not knowing how much is too much for you to just be sucked into work. This may be it, right? You may be thinking, well, the questions that I would ask, do you have a hobby? Are you, doing something outside of that doesn't, involve the military? If the answer is no, then you maybe need to have a moment like Rosa did and really, just start taking action on something that's outside of the military, because it's so important, to really find, not maybe not necessarily a full balance, but really to get out there and then just start asking questions and, doing the thing, taking, if it's one step at a time, one day at a time, like you mentioned, Rose, I think that that's, something that they can do. And, I appreciate your transparency and, making sure that none of us are perfect. I mean, we're not, and it will come.
No.
And now, Michelle, for
Yeah,
you,
absolutely.
not,
Sorry.
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Sorry, there's a little bit of a lag. I just really quick wanted to say something. You brought something up that was really interesting about the not wanting to hide it. And I think that is another way that we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot. We see that as a weakness, but I have found that when I start talking about the struggles I'm going through, people are a lot more willing and able to come through and be like, "Hey, I've done this, that, and the other." And it becomes a lot more of a collaborative situation. And you meet a lot, at least for me, like other investors that have come on with me and that have done all of these moves has been because I've just been completely honest. Like I've lost that little bit of like pride of the, oh, I got to be perfect. No, man, we're all just trying to figure it out. We're all trying to do the best we can in life. So, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. And it's 100% true. We're all out here struggling, either in one area of our life, because just it's the matter of life, right? And it's something that we can't just negate and pretend that doesn't happen, because it does. I mean, great example. One of the girls, Astrid, shout out to you. We love you and we miss you. She wasn't feeling well, but she was not only honest to herself, saying, "Hey, you know what? I'm not feeling my best self. Why would I torture myself and show up to a podcast interview if I'm not feeling well?" And I think that, I'm just so proud of her, and it really says a lot about the growth that not only she's had, because I know her, personally, and she is just now putting herself, first instead of others, because the whole people pleasing, it's also real, you all. Like, we are so easily like, okay, yep, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, yes, here, yes, there. And then we are, we have no time for ourselves. And so, again, life is happening. And I just appreciate your transparency, Rosa. And Michelle, with you, you got out a couple years ago and you have a family, you have two kids, you are not only in wealth management, but you're also like coaching volleyball and basketball. Can you tell us a little bit about how that's going? Because we all know it's not easy.
No, and it's actually so funny. And I appreciate you, Rosa, again for your transparency because it makes people just feel naturally more comfortable. Oh my gosh, you guys, I literally was talking to my husband about this yesterday. It was like not a terrible day, but I was going through, and every time I wanted to be so positive, but then something negative would come up, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like it just piles on and piles on. And like, you're like, okay, well, I gotta let it go. And you're telling yourself, like, I've got to let this stuff go that's happening to me so I can focus on the important things. And I think for us, like, sometimes we just need to let it out. Like, that emotional breakdown, you just need it every once in a while, And I hadn't had mine in a long time. And I ended up having mine yesterday. You just cry, get the tears out, and you're like, okay, like the world's not ending. Everything isn't bad because in all reality, everything's great, Like, yes, we have our problems, but, we're still here. Family still, we have our health, we have things like that. We have food on the table. You have to remind yourselves of the blessings that we do have at the end of the day. Life is always hectic and it's become the new normal, right? If I've got a 2-year old and a 3-year old that's saying mommy every 2 seconds, you can't use the bathroom in peace. If it's not the kids that are following you, the dogs are following you. You just always have to be on your toes, I feel like. And that's something I told my volleyball girls. I'm like, stay on your toes, like be ready, anticipate. And I feel like that's what I do. Like in my mind, I'm constantly thinking about what's next and trying to plan, but then being able to go with the flow in those senses, right? Like, hey, coach, I'm not going to be able to be there today because I've got to prioritize and make sure that I'm here talking to the ladies, because women empowerment is huge and we need to have these conversations. Me missing out on a tryout for like an hour and a half, it's okay. I'll see you guys tomorrow, you know? So picking and choosing where to not really do your priorities, but get rid of your distractions and figure out, you know, where do I need to put my attention essentially.
Yeah. No, I love that, Michelle, because one, yes, 100% we need to just allow our emotions. And if it's, for you to cry, I'm a big crier, by the way. That's just how I just let everything out and just let everything go because, to be completely transparent, I haven't had like the most last 90 days that's been, like, oh my gosh, it's been great. And coaching's been going great and podcasting and, work. And like you mentioned, the kids, it hasn't. And you know what? I have to give myself grace. And so you, Michelle, by, reminding us that there will be days that you just have to like let it go. And especially if you have, for you, it's your husband, right? For me, it's more of my girlfriends. Like I can literally say whatever's in my mind and they hold that space for me. It's that safe environment that they're not going to judge me. They're not going to be like, okay, Wendy, okay, stop, acting weak or, just being dramatic. They're like, no, like I'm here. And we need that, right? We need that one individual. And, it could be your spouse, it could be a friend. But really just creating that space really allows not only respect for you, but also, time to really just allow yourself to lean on someone. And, for me, sometimes it's prayer. Really, most of the time, it's prayer. Like I'll literally sit here behind my desk and I'll just start praying. And I'm like, Lord, please just help me today. Get through this, meeting or get through this, whatever it may be. And then, that really helps me too, because I feel like it just allows me to clear my mind a little. And so, for any of you out there that are struggling, that you may be thinking, okay, I'm, going through this difficult situation, or you're in the middle of something that you're like, I don't even know how I got here. Just know that, you know, you are not alone. Everyone is going through something. Rosa is an investor and she has her business. Michelle, she deals with wealth management, right? Like this is what she does. But there are still going to be bad days, no matter how prepared you are, how how much you think you have things in order. Life is going to happen and it's going to hit you hard. And I think one of the things that I just really appreciate from the military, and you both let me know what you think about this, that the military really did to help me is really to, really hone in on the resiliency part. We are really good at getting back up. And I think that that is amazing when it comes to our, career, when it comes to being in uniform. But what I've noticed, at least for me, as soon as I got out, it was a lot harder for me to ask for help. It was a lot harder for me to be okay with failure or failing. Like you mentioned earlier, Rosa, about, there are going to be little fails here and there, but just keep moving. And so for me, it was more difficult when I got out. And Rosa, I know you're still in. And maybe you can share with us, maybe a moment that you had to like really adjust when maybe something in your business or something outside of the military. Um, and also to Michelle, something that you struggled with and you had to like get back up without having any time to think about it.
Yeah, Michelle, if you don't mind, I can jump right in. I think I have I have an interesting one. So one time that was very applicable to me was at the beginning of this whole journey, I was kind of looking for guidance and I was looking for a system, and I did start a business. It was an MLM. It was very interesting being in that business, and I don't necessarily have a view on either way, but it was really interesting because I did that, and you had to do a lot of legwork in order to succeed in that. And I ended up failing. And I ended up failing very, very hard, like a lot of money hard. So I think that was my first real failure with business. And that being kind of what I was using to catalyze me forward to finding my purpose and doing whatever else. It would have been really easy to just be deflated at that moment and to just be like, you know what, like this all sucks. I should just stick with what I'm doing. But it was that, what you were just saying, like that resilience of like, no. And that coupled with just keep on going, try something else. I think that was the moment where I realized like, oh, the first thing I tried didn't work. Like, is this who I am? That the first thing I tried didn't work and I'm done? Like, is that who I am as a person? Is that how I see myself? Because ultimately it's you, how you see yourself doesn't matter what anyone else says. If you see yourself strong, doesn't matter what anyone else says. The only time it matters is when you're not confident in yourself. And I did a lot of inner work at that point where I was working on my own confidence and my own abilities and my own just, hey, let's just do research. I don't need to have the answers, but I'm going to do all the research and I'm going to figure it out. And I got to a place where I was like, I can move out with a 60% solution. That's all I need to do. If I have 60%, I'm going to start moving. I'm going to start rocking and rolling and we'll figure it out from there. So
Yeah.
hopefully that's helpful to our audience.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think what really stood out to me, Rosa, is you just really owning what you were in already, right? I think most of us, at least maybe I'm speaking for myself here, I would have blamed whatever that, the MLM or that decision that I made, just blaming something other than, that was the best decision that you made at that moment. And now you're going to run with it, right? And you had no time because my understanding is in MLM, the more time you waste, the more money you're losing. The more time it takes for you to, get back your money, the more you're losing. And so I think for you to really make that decision really says a lot about, who you are as a leader because, great leaders make decisions all the time. They don't, procrastinate on decisions and making a decision. You're like, you know what, this is where I'm at and now I'm just focused on, being or getting to that 60% and I'm going to keep rolling and keep going. So if you're out there and, it's happened to you before when I'm like, oh my gosh, I've already lost so much money. But then I'm like, wait a minute, if I continue to dwell on this, I'm going to lose even more. So, you know what? I'm just going to count my loss, let it go and keep it moving. And so if you're someone out there that maybe similar situation, maybe you're an MLM now, or maybe invested X amount of money in something, and now you're like, okay, should I pull out or should I just keep, losing that money? Then, maybe this is a time for you to make a decision and then just count your loss and keep it moving. That's just sometimes the way it has to go. And Michelle, I'm pretty sure that's something that you would recommend as a wealth manager.
Yes, for sure. I actually love what you ladies both said, and I think our audience definitely needs to hear it, right? So it always depends on your risk factor, you guys, on what if you want to take that loss or if you want to stay in it. It depends on what we're even gambling with, right? Now, when it's things that we really want, and at the end run, I'm like, oh, maybe not gamble with that. Maybe gamble with something else on the side, right? But no, that's huge. And to speak on the resiliency factor, like we all have it. And I think being in the military really helps us because we naturally have that instinct to know the difference between giving up something or quitting something because it's hard or quitting something because it doesn't serve you anymore. And I think that that's something that you found, Rosa, and Wendy, you as well too, that it didn't necessarily serve you anymore. So you moved on to something else versus like, I'm just going to stop doing it because it's hard. Because we can always figure out, a game plan to get through it. And it's so many in different ways. Like that's the business side, and we have to take on that emotional side of it too. Like naturally, we are more emotional than men, right? And that takes a lot. So I'll tell you a little short story. my husband and I just got married this last year in July, right? And we had our honeymoon planned out. Thank you. That was such a great time. If I could go back, and we keep telling ourselves, like, we're going to celebrate every 5 years or because you don't see enough, like, celebration of love. Like, just let's get
Yeah.
together, have like a little small, like, wedding like thing again and just celebrate it, right? So that's a little side piece. But essentially, we had our honeymoon later on, and literally when we touched down on our honeymoon in Mexico, my husband gets a call, and it's his mom letting him know, like, hey, like, your dad doesn't have too much longer, right? We've got like 2, 3 weeks
Mm.
left. So instantly, we've got another week left to be in Cabo, right? And we're like, okay, trying to get through it. But that's the emotional side of it. There's that part of it to like sit back and say, like, okay, well, this moment is no longer about us right now. It is, right? But we have more important things that we need to figure out and plan ahead for. And for that to be okay. Like, yeah, does it suck? Absolutely. That's not something you want to hear at all, though. So having the emotional resilience as well, too, with that, business or, industry specific resilience, you have to have that too. You have to know that, like you said earlier, Wendy, things are okay and it is going to happen and things are going to suck, but it's something that you can get through and figure out if you just take the time. Sometimes we need to sit in it and then get past it, but absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. And before I get into what you said, I would really would want for y'all to take a moment to go check out Michelle's Instagram. I just love all her pictures that she posts. Her honeymoon pictures are there. All the photos that she posts as a mom, and just, like she mentioned, there aren't enough videos and photos out there. And I'm, the first one to say, Michelle, that I need to do better at doing that. Not just necessarily posting, but really just being in that moment, like you mentioned, of just, just showing love, right? I think it's very important, you know, regardless of who it is, right? It could be your husband, your spouse. It could be, your kids. It could be your family, your friends. I think that that's more of what I need to do personally. But also, I need to see that more on my socials, or maybe I'm just following the wrong people. Maybe I need to relook at my Instagram. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, no, go follow Michelle and Rosa. They are both, again, they have amazing things that they share on there. And so, with what you just said, Michelle, I think you're completely right. Right, there's moments where you're like, okay, this isn't about me or about us. For you at that moment, it was about you and your husband, and that's life, right? And unfortunately, like you mentioned, no one wants to go through that. No one wants to get that phone call, and it's tough. And so, the part that's important, or all of it's important, but most importantly, taking care of yourself emotionally, right? Like being there for not only yourself but also for your husband at the time. And so, you may be going through a loss, you may be going through grief right now. I know I still am, and it's okay. Life is not going to wait for anyone. Not to say that you don't take a break, right? Like you guys took a moment, a pause, and said, you know what, we're going to come back to this moment, maybe not in the same location, but you're going to do this again in the future. You're going to do this again, once your husband is ready. And so, just having grace for the both of you, I think, Michelle, that speaks a lot about you as a wife, as a woman, because it's hard, right? When you see your husband going through something emotionally, it's just hard. um and so if you're someone that maybe hasn't even asked for help or doesn't know where to begin, I really recommend that, one, you reach out. If you're active duty, you have the military one source. If you're a veteran, you can also call to that number, but there's also a specific line that you can find in the show notes for you to start doing that, because you want to take care of you in order for you to focus on anything else, because you really can't do much without you being mentally and emotionally well. And you know, that's just what it is. Yeah, you can have all the money and investments and you can have all the time, but if you're not mentally and emotionally there, there's just no way out of it. You're just going to go in circles. And so, again, Michelle, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And Rosa, thank you for just, being open about how it is to fail and not know the answers, right? It really is difficult, you all. And, I hope that what you got out of today, not only inspires you, but encourages you. Because here's the thing, Michelle and Rosa are normal human beings just like you and I. You may be in the Air Force or in the Navy, or in the Marines, right? You may be thinking, oh, but I'm not an officer, or I didn't go to West Point. There's nothing out there. No one's going to take me seriously. But I'm here to tell you that that's not true. Whatever it is that you're inspired to do, it could be in the entertainment, kind of like what Summer and Aaron shared with us in the previous episode. You may be an aspiring singer, someone that is wanting to be in this entertainment industry or just in the business world. There is always someone out there that is ready to help you and to share with you what they're going through. It's never going to be all butterflies and rainbows and every day is a great day. It's not going to be that way. And so I hope and I pray that this episode blessed you and that you join us too in December, because here's the thing. Rosa and Michelle are not only going to be a part of the Swan Gala event, but also they're going to, take part in this virtual event. I'm going to have them again on the podcast next year for us to go into Rosa's full detail of how she systemizes things, how she, does things in a way where it helps her not only save time, which, as you guys know, I love that. I love anything that helps you, save time, get more out of your time, and help you continue to push forward. And Michelle's going to walk us through, giving us tips on how to financially get ready, how she's helping her clients, and how, she's also going to help you just through this platform. And so what we ask is for you to, one, start to take action today. And that is by, one, simply just, you know, doing what Rosa and Michelle recommended here, right? Start taking action now and take care of your emotional well being, and then keep pushing through. And two, to follow us, join us to this virtual event that we'll be having in December, for you to come and not only learn about our speaker that we'll be having, and for her to share how she's gone through her life emotionally. And so now she's at a place where she can talk about this and ready to continue her modeling career. So again, if this is something that think that will help you get you to the next step, I really want to invite you to join us. Go on Instagram and connect with Rosa and Michelle. All right. Well, thank you so much, Rosa. Michelle, is there anything else that you would like to add?
Yes. So first, thank you guys so much for having me. And thank you, Wendy, for inviting me over. Like, this has been an amazing experience. And girl, I am so excited for your financial class that's going to happen. I am very ready for that. Sign me up. So if
Me
you want to
too.
find me, you can find me on Instagram, sincerely underscore Rosa1. I don't really post a lot there, but if you send me a DM, I'll be sure to reply to you. But yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate your time and I hope it was helpful.
Yes, thank you,
Thank you,
Wendy, again for
Rosa.
having us. Rosa, absolutely love anytime we get together and I can just hear you talk. Like, she just came on glowing. Everything was great. She just speaks, you just like inspired all the words just naturally. But no, so my Instagram handle is the Michelle Poe. I pretty much have everything linked there. Our link tree is on there. Business stuff's on there. I'm very I'm not as good, like as quick as I am on texting with social media, but I absolutely do respond in the same day. So just give me a little grace. Like you said, Wendy, we've got kids, we've got things to go happening. So yeah, you
Yeah.
can find me there. And my last little bit, I just want to leave everybody with plan for it, right? Wendy's going to let you guys know the time, the date, all the details you need for the virtual event. Let everybody know. If you have kids, say, hey, if you're a single mom, then plan, right? You've got the snacks, the tablets, the movies, have everything set aside and ready to go. You got your pen and your paper so you can stay locked in because you don't want to miss it. And if you have a significant other, then say, hey, you've got the kids for this time and I'm going to be focused and locked in because you don't want to miss these gems they were about to get.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. You're right. And we may need a whole nother class on how to take care of yourself, Michelle, because you're right. Everything that you just said, checking those boxes. need to get a babysitter. We need to do this. We need to do that. Make sure we're distraction free. Put the phone away, unless you're using it to log in, of course. But no, thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Rosa, again. And you all, as I said before, everything will be in the show notes. All you have to do is go to wendyrate.com/192. And you all, thank you again for tuning in, for joining us. And I hope to see you at the event. All right, y'all. Have a beautiful rest of your week. Bye.